Hey everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider, and I'm here in our South by Southwest studio with the awesome folks behind Arcadian. How are you guys doing?
Great. Good to be back with you, Steve.
Listen, sir, and I've said this to you off camera and I'll say it on camera. Anytime I'm sitting across from you is a fucking great day.
Well, I appreciate that. I always think we have a good conversation.
So listen, no one watching this interview yet will have seen the movie yet, and I hate doing that generic thing, but I'm looking at you, sir. How have you been describing the film to friends and family?
It is a movie about a family trying to survive after the end of the world in a remote farmhouse, and Nick plays Paul, a man who's raising two sons and trying to teach them about the world in a way that they could maybe rebuild it, but at night they are threatened by an evil that is trying to eradicate the rest of the people that have survived. So it's a coming-of-age story, using that kind of as the metaphor for what it means to grow up.
I'm going to start with you, Nick, if you don't mind. What was it about this script and project that said, and you guys have worked together, obviously, but what was it about this project that said, oh yeah, I need to do this?
So it's very simple, really. Two of my favorite genres, independently spirited family drama. You know, grew up watching East of Eden, Kazan, Ordinary People, Redford, and then science fiction horror in that category. In this case, particularly, specifically, science fiction. If you mash those two and the dynamic of the family, which is a father and two boys, which is largely what my family dynamic was, because sadly my mother couldn't be around as much as we would have liked her to have been around. So my father did all the heavy lifting. So I wanted to tell a story about that family dynamic, then mash it up with science fiction and see what we could come up with. And I'm happy with these results.
For the two of you, I'm just curious, when you have the opportunity to work with Nick Cage, what does it actually cost you to pay to be in the movie and work with him? Because I would like to also know that number in case I could save the money to work with Nick.
Priceless.
Right. No, okay, I'll be serious. But Nick is one of my favorite actors, and he's so great on screen and the way he works. And I'm just curious for the two of you, what was it like collaborating and sharing the screen? And what did you take away from watching him work that maybe you're going to apply to future projects?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to tell you. It seems like you know, Nick is an incredible actor. To be able to go, even before I got to set, to be able to go knowing that I'd be working with somebody who has that much level of recognized skill and experience, and I knew I was going to be learning a lot. I didn't know, and I'm eternally grateful for it, how collaborative Nick is in teaching us and being a scene partner. I learned a lot through the collaboration. I think one of the most memorable moments of that shoot, and honestly of my last 10 years doing this, has been when we did the Are We Not Men scene. I think that was the first time I realized there are elements that you can bring in from your real life into work. I've been fortunate enough to live this kind of super normal life outside of the acting world. I went to my neighborhood public school. I ran cross country. I did Model UN. I did all that stuff and had a pretty normal upbringing, bar a few acrobatic experiences in a traveling circus. But yeah, for the most part, it was really interesting to see how you were able to fuse that and real personal experiences. And I think it only deepened the work that we did there. And I think it all had an effect on all of us. So that was my biggest thing. Well,
I learned from you. They teach me. You know, they keep me interested. So.
I'm sure they also taught you about TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't think that never came up, did it?
I don't think it did. I think partly because we were filming in places with no cell phone reception. But
I only had 1 day or 2 days with you, Sadie. I would have liked to have had more.
I was going to say, I only had a very short time working with Nick, but I think what you say, you're a student of film, and you know, seeing you work on set, that couldn't be more true. And I think that's the type of actors you want to work with, is people who are just so talented, such auteurs in what they do, but also who are just up for making things, you know, learning and being open and collaborative, which is just such a wonderful thing to work with. So, I wish I had more, and hopefully one day I will. But
Me
yeah.
too.
There is kind of like an infectious passion every day on set that I picked up from the first scene. The first scene that we did together was, not to spoil anything, it's pretty early on in the film, where I'm late and I'm running over the hill, and I read it as not how we did it. Right. You came in with 110% energy, and it really changed the tone of it and really set the stakes for the world, like how costly being late can be.
Yeah, and I'm very much in support of Maxwell and Jaeden in this movie. There's a large part of the picture where I'm unconscious because of something that happens, but my job in this case was really to try and find, almost like any father with brothers, locate what their strengths are and play to that. We have minimal amount of time to make this movie. So if I think Jaeden has an interesting intellectual aura, let's play to that. Let's keep that going. And if I think that Maxwell has a real movie star charisma, that I want to keep, really find that in his, where he's looking at me, and find the strength in that. And both the boys in the movie bring a similarity, but they have a distinction, and I wanted to augment that as any father would. In this case, I'm playing Paul, which is a movie father, but even as an older actor in support of younger actors, that was, with minimal time, try to enhance that.
I'm curious in terms of the screenplay, and when you guys were, developing, putting it together, how much are you thinking about in the writing process? What can we afford with this idea? Multiple how much does the budget fill in the writing process and in the development? And how much are you sort of just let's write what we can write, and we're going to get there?
I probably should have given a little bit more consideration to the economics of the film when writing it. And I apologize to Ben a couple of times on the set. They're like, well, this one is really tricky. You're really doing a great job pulling that off. But I did want to concentrate on it having just one location, a remote location, especially since it was during COVID, it was written, and that there were very few characters. So that was kind of the thought process, but budgetarily keeping it in a reasonable place.
So one of the things that people might not realize is just like, and I can't pronounce his name, and I'm sorry to saying this, but Godzilla -1's director just won the Oscar for doing. He was part of the 35-man team that did the visual effects. So, and that saved a lot of money because he was in the trenches working with the other VFX artists. And people might not realize you have a real skill set with visual effects, and you worked on the visual effects. So talk a little bit about doing them yourself and what you learned from Everything Everywhere, where you also did those amazing visual effects that you brought to this.
Thanks. Well, first of all, Godzilla -1 winning the Oscar is extremely cool. That's one of the coolest things that's happened in a minute. I love that film. I highly recommend it. It's the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. It's astounding. But I think it, like this project or anything I've had the luck of getting to be part of and do visual effects on, it really allows you to create a painterly approach to the image that might be constrained by budget, because if you only have so much time to shoot it physically, then what you have on either side of it is for yourself to decide how much time you want to kind of shoot it before or shoot it after. So by shooting it before, you're storyboarding, or I do 3D pre-vising of sequences, and then afterwards I'm creating assets that expand shots to make the world bigger, or just so it's all it ends up being completely holistic. And so on this film, Arcadian, the first person who came in to work on it with me when I jumped on was Zach Stoltz, who's the VFX supervisor on Everything Everywhere All at Once. And so our idea was, what if the movie we make after Everything Everywhere All at Once is of actually a similar kind of budget for visual effects, but we try this new type of world building in a horror movie with a monster and full CG creature and all that. But yeah, I think that there are when people have seen the movie, there are 5 shots in the film that every inch of it is CG, and I made it on my laptop. And I tell people, please, for my own sake, guess those shots at the end of the movie because I need to know. And so far, no one's caught them. But I don't say that to I just say that I hope to inspire people because I'm making this stuff on free software on my computer, and it's playing in movies that no one can tell. So again, to the Godzilla -1 team, I think that that's a beautiful future for these films because they all need visual effects. Like they all have invisible stuff that enhances performances. And just because the economics start shrinking our opportunity in the real time on set doesn't mean that we can't uplift everyone's work later in post in creative ways. So yeah, you should ask me about VFX. I just start rambling about how much.
But that's a master class. So it's wonderful to think about that. Find a barometer. Can you detect where it is or isn't? That's wonderful.
Well, the thing that I'm most excited about is, as you point out with this film, is allowing independent cinema that is even lower budget, that has almost no money, to incorporate VFX that just is requiring of your time. Because the software is there. It's just a question of how much, are you willing to put in months and months of sitting in your bedroom or, you know what I mean, like working on VFX that the world might see. It's pretty crazy, the democratization of VFX, if that makes any sense.
There's one brief anecdote. So the opening of this film, Nick had to run a mile on screen in an unbroken shot in the middle of Dublin with ice on the ground, and we did the take 3 or 4 times. And so Nick had to run a mile, and it was a long run, and because it's Nick, he did it and was just totally tough about it, and it looks great. But when the shot was done, I had just written myself a check, which was to take the environment that he was running through and make it the end of the world, not currently a world. And so while I had great sympathy for Nick having to run through the streets of Dublin for this one-er opening shot, that sympathy then was paid back because I sat for 3 months and I destroyed Dublin in my computer. And so when that shot opens the film, I think of it as the perfect confluence of what I'm talking about, because what Nick committed to on that day, I then got to honor for like 3 months of just being like, yeah, that's what this is about. It's about how hard you are willing to commit to this craft.
I love that opening. That wasn't originally in the project. Mike started the movie in the script with Maxwell's character running over the hill and Paul saying, "You're late." And then they added this whole sequence of this running through Ireland. And there was another little MacGuffin, which I won't go into, but they kept it, and it's a great way to enter this world. Another example of when you have less money, you have to be more inventive in terms of how to create a spectacle that people are going to want to watch. And it really inspires the creative juices to think outside the box.
And if I could just add, not that I have any knowledge whatsoever of what it takes to do VFX, but I have noticed, and I think Ben is the person that really cemented this belief, is that some of the best directors I've ever worked with have VFX backgrounds. And I don't know where it comes from, but hearing you talk about this kind of bridging of the camera and this kind of, and the acting, and I mean, it could be coming from you guys are so dedicated to sitting and watching those scenes over and over again and perfecting it. And I think, we definitely felt so supported by the VFX team on this. And I think it was in large part to you and to that mindset. So I think it really aided us in bringing this world to life in the physical, because we had the backing of this really prepared, really passionate, and really creative, artistically driven VFX computer guys.
Yeah.
So it was a totally a bridging of two worlds, and Ben kind of acted as the avatar of those two worlds.
If you could only watch one TV show for the rest of your life, what TV show would it be and why?
Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone. Great actors, great story structure, and I just love the way Rod Serling opens every segment with that wonderful voice and stiff upper lip and a cigarette. It's just the coolest guy ever on television and a genius writer.
I'm gonna go, and it's not nearly as impressive as that answer, but it's. I'm gonna go with the original animated Avatar: The Last Airbender series, and I'm gonna go with it not because I watched it as a kid and it's nostalgic, because I just watched it again for the 10th time 2 weeks ago, and it's a story. It's a story that I think a lot of people can relate to, and I think it's timeless in it's just a classic story, the hero's journey, and I think it's kind of a perfect representation of that, and you almost forget that it's animated. Feels like history almost watching it.
I know a lot of people that love that animated show.
Yeah.
Mine, if I'm being really truthful, it changes all the time, so I could not say one. But at the moment, for some reason, I'm just really into The Simpsons. It's really comforting, and I find Treehouse of Horror really good. So I'm not gonna, apologize for that. I think it's great.
I think Family Guy is better than The Simpsons.
The rest of your life, and that's it.
It's also been on for like forever. So you have an unlimited.
Unlimited supply.
I've had people come in and they start debating. Well, how many? Like, if it's my whole life, I need to have a show that has like 20 seasons.
Yeah.
Or anyway, it fits that criteria.
I'm just gonna say something controversial. I like Family Guy better than The Simpsons. So. Oh no! Oh.
People have done the same answer.
Do you want to explain why?
No, I would say Family Guy, and a lot because I think it's brilliant, and also because there's so many episodes. So you have a deep bench.
And Seth MacFarlane is very funny.
Very funny.
And can sing.
And 100% can sing.
Modern day Frank Sinatra. It's crazy.
Yeah. And we have one left.
The Real Housewives of Atlanta. No. I don't know. No, I've never. All right. Wait, what? Wait, I have to watch the show forever?
Show very well. His ex-wife is on it.
Not Atlanta.
I love that show.
Oh no, I've never. I was just trying to be funny.
Right, and
I've
it
never
worked.
seen it. No, what's like I want to say like a show that makes me look like I would just watch. Like The Simpsons was the best answer for me. That is probably true, but if I'm thinking about like the TV that like forever, like you would watch it over and over again, I would go with the whole Twin Peaks, like all of Twin Peaks. And the reason why is because, David Lynch is like my hero. I think he's like the greatest cinema artist we have. But I think if I had to watch something forever, that would just keep giving me things. Like I think it would just have, there'd be days where it would make me laugh because it's so funny. And then there'd be days where it would have this like spiritual meaning to me, and also like it's one of the incredible acts on television where he made this brilliant show 30 years ago and then came back and did a new season. It's just as amazing. It has so much more to offer. So yeah, I would say Twin Peaks, the whole thing of it.
Well, the other thing about Twin Peaks, which people forget, is when it came out in the 90s, it was like a revolution on television. No one had done anything like that, which is, Twin Peaks is in the DNA of everything after in terms of like what you can do. It really changed television in such a big way. So anyway, and for the younger folks and at the table, if you research when it was on and what TV was like back then, it was crazy. So.
I was just going to also throw in, because I'm terrible with decision making, Friday Night Lights. I was going to throw in Friday Night Lights.
You already made your decision, sir. Listen, I love Friday Night Lights, but you have made your decision and we know it's Avatar.
Avatar's going in the cut. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine.
So for all of you guys, you see the shooting schedule. What day do you have circled in terms of I cannot wait to film this? And what day do you have circled in terms of how the F are we going to film this?
I don't know how to answer that because it's all like a blur to me now. I don't have any circle days in red. I don't.
Was there a day that you were particularly excited to film something?
I was very cognizant that I had a minimal amount of time to form a family dynamic with Jaeden and Maxwell where you would have no doubt that we were family and that we were close and that we were related. And a lot of thought went into casting Jaeden and Maxwell. So that took care of 50% of it because I look at it and think, yeah, okay, they could be my boys. But I knew I had to get up to speed very quickly. So I would say the dinner table scene with the Are We Not Men, I immediately thought my dad would do that, as ridiculous as it sounds. We would have dinner and we had wood plates and he would take the knife and he'd go and stab it into the plate and it would stick there and go, Are we not men? And I was, okay, and we would do that. And I said, okay, well, let's do that. Let's do what Dad did. And so we put that in and that kind of had this family bond, which then, interestingly enough, spoke volumes about where the movie is going. It's like a little crystallized moment that extrudes out that suddenly, yeah, we're actually going into battle with these creatures with knives. I mean, the whole thing kind of extruded out from that one little improvised moment that we all got on board with. So I would say that day was a circle, if you will.
Sure.
Because I had, again, minimal time to get this family bond up and running.
I think there was, yeah, it is kind of a blur. I don't remember what scenes were filmed on the days together, but I remember there were some sequences where, just as a fan of the genre, how excited I was to see how we were going to do that. I think one of those ones was the cave sequence when we're fighting in the cave. And yeah, we filmed that both outside and in studio, which was wild. And I think just from a character standpoint, that was the first moment we see Thomas have to start to confront his guilt and to have to start to question his morality and his priorities to his family, to his growing up. I think it's a key turning point for that, and it was just something I was excited to explore. I always love doing scenes where you can bridge that deep familial connection with sci-fi horror.
Sure.
I think it almost makes it more real. It's like folkloric in a way. You're coming up with these stories to explain real life. So I really was looking forward to that, as well as the final scene with the driving.
No spoilers, though.
Oh, no spoilers. But I think there's some really cool sequences with fighting monsters, and I come from a theatrical circus background, so the physical side of it and honestly stunts a lot of the time have always been my way into finding this character, the physicality of a character. So we were lucky enough to be able to do, it's like a week and a half of solid rehearsals with the stunt team before we even started filming, to really get a sense of how these characters interact with the monsters. And it made it almost second nature, so that when we got on the day, we could feel really confident with the physicality of it and how we're interacting with these creatures, which either was someone in a motion capture suit or no one at all.
You could make a movie about a stuntman. You could remake the old Burt Reynolds movie Hooper. He would be great in that part.
Love to. Yeah, 100%. Or Dick Grayson.
There wasn't really anything. I think, as both Nick and Max said, it was all a bit of a blur because we had so little time to do this. But I'd say for me, a lot of the fun stuff was just a lot of the physical stunts were incorporating all these different things, because you don't really get to do that every day or on every film. I think I found it very entertaining when we'd shoot with the dog, Rocko? Yeah. Because he would be the bane of your life for the whole set. Or the cockroaches, I have a real fear of those. So it was really fun getting to smash that fear, and I luckily didn't have them thrown all over me like you did. But
Yeah,
well done.
yeah. The cockroaches were gnarly. You'd just find, you'd go back to your trailer to change, and you'd just find one there.
No. Everything about that is a no.
Well, because once they're out, like they're kind of out a little bit. So
No. Sir, no. That is not for me. You guys?
I'm just laughing because I realized like you wrote a script and you were like, babies, dogs, action, chase scenes, and you just sent that to me. I was like, yeah, okay. And then I was like, wait a minute, that is all the stuff they say don't do because it's hard and okay. But no, I love the challenge of it. It was great. But yeah, wait, what the idea is like, what day would you circle? That's the day you wanted to.
What day did you have circled in terms of you were really excited to film something?
That would be day one, and but also it's the day you dread. I don't know why, like. It's the first day of school. It really is. And like, so you show up and you're like, you've been doing all this prep, but then you get there and you're like, okay, can I have the camera? Yeah, the camera. And you are here. And it's just so awkward at first. And the first day on this one, poor Max, we had to film him running through the woods. And we had scouted this place a bunch of times. It's fine, normal, beautiful Irish weather. We show up and it's just a deluge, lashing. I mean, everyone's like and he had to run through this whole thing, and it's funny because at the moment I thought, we have this really tough Irish crew and they just shooting all these elements because they're Irish. And after we shot this, because I was like, that you guys must be used to that. And like, oh no, we don't shoot in this. Like we go shoot something else. We don't come out here. So yeah, our first day, which is always my day that I both love and dread, was a quick baptism of like, okay, this is independent filmmaking right now.
I will always come back to the saying, nothing's harder than the circus. So
yeah,
when it was raining out there, it was more like, can we prove it to ourselves that we can do this?
Nothing's what? Then?
Nothing's harder than the circus. Anytime it's like a rough day on set or at school or whatever, that's like my go-to.
Last thing.
I don't remember which day it was or where it was in the shoot, but there's a scene between Nick and Jaeden where Thomas is kind of messed up, and Paul, the dad, is going to have to try to fix it. And there's just a scene between the two of them where he's going to go out. I don't want to give too much away, but he's leaving his son behind, and you don't know at that moment for how long. So it's a scene that just has tons of subtext, which I really, really just enjoyed watching that scene, the way it developed between the two of them, and the way Ben handled it. It was really lovely. Every take I got misty on it. Just that was a fun one for me.
I have to wrap with you guys, and they're going to kill me, but I have to ask you an individual question, Nick, and just real fast. There's been a lot of talk about a SpiderMan Noir animated series, which you could be a part of. I personally would love for this to happen. What can you say about this possible project?
Well, I can say that we have been talking. It's no secret that I love the character. I think the character provides another mashup of sorts. I can combine my favorite Golden Age performances, i.e. Robinson, Cagney, Bogart, with a character that is, I guess, widely considered Stan Lee's masterpiece. I see it as a kind of a foray into a pop art mashup, sort of a Jungian Lichtenstein mashup by way of Bogart and Cagney, but nothing's definitive yet. It's just conversation.
On that note, I appreciate you answering. And on that note, I really want to say I hope you guys have a fantastic South by. I really cannot wait to see the movie, and good luck with the rest of your speed dating this morning.
Thanks so much, Steve. Good to talk.